Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming today, and for those of you who are watching this on repeat, this is Finding the Why podcast. Finding the Why podcast is a community of artists coming together to build relationships and disrupt elite systems. It is hosted by Tebbs Gallery, for artists by artists, and set up by professional artists Sarah Hardy and Kirstie Tebbs, with weekly live stream podcasts talking everything about art, strong opinions, honest talk, professional artists, guests, art challenges, book reviews, you name it, we do it. And if there is anything that you want us to cover, any art challenges you want to see us do, please let us know in the comments. We will listen to every single piece that you give us. So today is quite an exciting day, really. It was the lunar eclipse day today.
Solar eclipse. Almost.
Here in England it wasn't very great, and we were literally just out of range to see the Ring of Fire. But if you got to see it, if you got to do any good pictures, please tag us, share it to us, send us a message. We would love to see and hear your stories. I sat outside with my camera for the hour it was meant to be on for. I think the best picture I got was the clouds.
I saw a brief kind of moderate occlusion of the sun, but that was pretty much it. It was quite cloudy here as well. So, but there's a full moon tonight as well, so I'm just expecting everything to go really weird.
Yeah, it's one of those days, isn't it, when the day mixes with the lunar eclipse and a full moon.
Yes, yeah. If you're into your stars and stuff, apparently expect big things.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a time of new beginnings and sudden endings. So it all sounds very, very dramatic. Pivotal turning points as well. So yeah, I suppose just expect the unexpected.
Exactly. It's going to be big things. You're going to wake up tomorrow and something's going to have happened. Hopefully nothing bad though.
Yeah, I was going to say. So what's also happened this week is Virginia McKenna's turned 90. So wishing Virginia McKenna a very happy 90th birthday.
Yes.
And another nation sweetheart. So yeah, she's done so much good in the world of conservation and animal rescue, and yeah, born free.
Yes, a massive happy birthday to her, a phenomenal person. If you haven't heard of her, look her up, because she has done some absolutely fantastic things.
Absolutely. And I do believe we've had World Ocean Day this week as well.
Oh, did we?
Yes. So that's happening.
We've also had World Hot Dog Day. I think it was last Friday.
That comes up every week.
Yeah.
Or is it just a novelty?
If there's any world days or national holidays around with you guys, let us know, because we're always interested to hear what's going on, whether it's
Absolutely.
From Ocean Day to Hot Dog Day. So our first news story of the week is Raphael cartoons at Victoria and Albert Museum. Were there with a live orchestra performance. So it was literally a multitude of different art forms coming together and celebrating together. And yeah.
Absolutely. Apparently it was 7 original tapestry paintings done by Raphael, and they'd been digitized with cutting edge technology. And yeah, I think they were commissioned by the Sistine Chapel by Pope Leo X initially. So yeah, it's kind of, you know, they kind of basically, because of the current situation, they've been looking at ways to innovate the presentation of art, and, you know, where everything's being closed down, and kind of maybe regenerate these events that have been missed. And they really wanted to bring them to life. And, you know, I haven't actually seen anything, but it sounds phenomenal, because it's a combination of, you know, this digitized version of the art, but also with classical music. And I know music really can make so much difference and bring things to life so much more. Hence, you know, obviously you've got film scores, and without you can imagine certain films without the scores behind them, and it would give a totally different effect. So yeah, I can't wait to catch that. I think it'll be really good.
Honestly, I think it will be fantastic. I can't wait to see it either, because I'm not a massive classical music lover, but when classical music comes together with art and other mediums, it's so powerful. You can really feel it, everything that's going on, not just in the artwork but also around you. It creates a complete immersive experience, and such an exciting experience just to live through. The conductor Oliver Zeffman led the Academy of St. Martin's in the Fields, and the violinist Victoria Mullover in a filmed orchestral performance. It was absolutely striking. There hasn't been any really bad reviews about it, actually. It's all very positive, which is great to see, since there are a lot of critics and people at the end of the internet that always have something critical to say. But for this, it doesn't seem to have come out of the woodwork. Everyone's been so happy and inspired by it.
And I think it's been done to celebrate Raphael's 500th anniversary as well. So that's a biggie.
Yes. Fantastic time for it to have coincided with pandemic restrictions starting to lift in the UK, actually. So
absolutely. Yeah, but it brings about the the kind of question, kind of, have has anybody else been kind of inspired by music? I know this is kind of about the collaboration, but sometimes when as artists we're influenced by various things. Sometimes it's a visual, sometimes it's a piece of music or something audible, sometimes it's kind of more a scent. It can be any number of things that you're inspired by. So yeah, if you've kind of ever caught a piece of music and been inspired to create by that, how are you inspired? I think is what I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so true, because there's always been this fine line between what is art and what is music. Are they separate, or is it a form of art? To me, they're one in the same. There is an incredibly fine line, but is it really there?
Yeah, it's just a different form of expression at the end of the day. I think I'm always in art. I'll try and speak. Always in awe of musicians and singers, and the way they, I just don't feel like there is another form of art that's quite like music, to be fair, because it can alter your mood instantaneously. It can take you up or it can take you down. And it, the kind of art that brings goosebumps to you, there isn't really much more that I feel that can top music. But obviously you put it together with the other things, and you've got something pretty damn powerful.
It's so true. And you can hear one note and it can bring back an entire memory that you've had, where you either heard the song at a special moment, or even to a point where it takes you back to the point in time you were listening to it, whether it's from, say, when you got married and it was your first dance, or the first time you met your partner, to when you was at an absolute low and it was a song that was getting you through. It's one of the rare art forms that can hit you straight away, and it can pretty much do anything.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that they've got the violin. I love the violin.
Yeah.
So next piece of news is Van Gogh.
Yes, it's Van Gogh Experience is opening in New York, and it's been touring the US recently, and was in the UK in London about 2 years ago. If you haven't gone to a Van Gogh Experience, go, because it is so phenomenal. I've been to a Tate exhibition where it's just his paintings, and I've been to the South London Gallery that had it on. their experience immersion exhibition, and the two are just so different, because in the experience, you walk in, the paintings are moving, there are touch points where if you move across, the artwork moves across, you can zoom in and zoom out, you're literally surrounded by his artwork rather than just a picture on the wall, and it takes you to a completely different realm. You're almost inside his paintings and inside his mind, the way that he saw the world. And I honestly can't have enough praise for the immersion event, because it is such a wonder to behold. It's so exciting to be in, and the way that it was put on in London, it was amazing. They used every inch of wall, they used every inch of floor, ceiling, beams, the whole works. You were walking around and there was nothing to be bored of.
I love the fact that, I mean, I've never been to the this entirely immersive event, but I love kind of what I've heard about it, and the fact that it's not just about his paintings, but it also encompasses the many facets of Van Gogh as well. So it just looks absolutely stunning, absolutely spectacular. Apparently, they used more than 100 projectors in this exhibition, and moving images, and they used mirrors as well to enhance the experience and the way the images were projected. And apparently, what was that? Over 1,000 letters. There's an installation of it's like a swirling scene of letters, and there's that, sorry, I lost my train of thought, that Van Gogh wrote to his brother, and they've all been digitized, and this is what's kind of been projected, and that kind of swirling around the ceiling, and that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't there when I went to the London one, and I'm kind of sad, because to hear it sounds like it would be an amazing experience to see that. I mean, Van Gogh is regarded as one of the most unappreciated creatives in his time, and it's true, he was, and everyone sees him as this depressive, crazy person this entire time, but he wasn't. There were moments where his head was on, and there was moments where sadly his mental health took him over. And the way that it's painted is that he wasn't able to do anything for himself. He was always bedridden, but he was a creative. He traveled. He did sell artworks in his time. He wasn't just unappreciated. He did. And I think he is pretty much the persona of what a current artist is. You do have mental health issues. There are some days where you can't get out of bed because you're so demotivated. You don't see yourself as a success, and the outside might not see you as a success. But if you've sold one or two paintings, if you're like living and traveling, you are successful in yourself, because you are who you define as success.
Yeah.
But that's going off on a tangent.
It's much more of a kind of a pep talk, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, I think self-belief, it really does have to start in here. And you project it outwards. I suppose we can't go through life kind of hoping to be validated by everybody that we meet. And it does take a bit of resilience. And this is where the grit and the determination come in, because you have to stand back up, and you have to keep applying and reapplying for things, and just keep on going with your practice, and not kind of, I mean, obviously take on board advice, where fit, but yeah, I think I think everything should start with personal development and kind of developing that sense of self in order to kind of move forwards, and be bigger and bolder and stronger and more confident in yourself as you are authentically, rather than kind of having to rely on that external validation, which may or may not come. And if it doesn't come, you're kind of having really, it makes kind of not so good days worse almost.
I completely agree. I think we need to do an episode on like on that sort of thing, because it's such an important thing to know as an artist. And this is something, whenever I see Van Gogh's work or an image of him, it always reminds me of this idea of self-worth and knowing when you're successful, because you never know how you're going to be remembered in history, whether you are going to be that creative that was seen as massive major health issues and not as successful as you are dead, or if you're going to be known as someone successful whether you was or not, because at the end of the day success is defined by yourself. But yeah, if you have a chance to go to the Van Gogh experience, I really would urge you to. It always seems when they do the experience, they never run out of tickets. They always find a way of putting on more tickets, getting more people in to see it, whether it's through extending it or extending opening hours or something like that, which is actually a very good thing to do. But when you look at things like Yayoi Kusama in London, in Tate at the moment, it sold out within minutes, and there was a glitch in the system. So if you were 30,000 in line, it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but seriously, if you were 30,000 in line, you weren't popped up with a note saying that they're sold out. You had to wait until you got to number 1, number 10 to be told that it'd been sold out. So people who were coming on like an hour or two after tickets went on, even after the early tickets, sadly had to wait a couple of hours before finding out they were actually going to be not able to go on, like from the moment that they logged on. And I mean, that's a massive issue within the art world, but the people who run the Van Gogh experiences seem to always find a way around that and make sure people can see it if they want to see it and if they want to experience it in person, which is incredibly commendable of them.
I must get there. Did you know that Van Gogh had chromesthesia, which means he hears? I cannot speak today. He hears in colour.
Wow.
And sees sound.
You know what, that makes a lot of sense with his artwork, the way that he does his strokes and colours, because you can almost hear the artworks and you can see almost the sound that's coming out of them.
Did you ever see Loving Vincent? The film
no,
that was made.
You mentioned it like a week ago and I keep saying I'm gonna watch it, but I haven't, so I'm writing it down now.
Yes,
and I am watching it.
Top tip, if anybody hasn't seen it, watch it, because it is beautifully done, and it's obviously it's got the voiceovers by actors, and you know the digital moving paintings, and yeah, it's joyful to watch. To be fair, I could watch it again and again.
And our final story, the final story tonight, that was a weird noise that just happened then. Is another immersion installation piece with Lumen and Forge, who went and created a 360-degree projection dome for Capital One, which toured the UK in the US, and they had over 30 different immersive scenes and it was mainly, I think it was to bring the issues of nature and give you guys the experience that you'd never have seen before.
Yeah, apparently Lumen and Forge has actually designed geodesic projection domes and inflatable projection domes as well, from anywhere from between 10 feet and 300 feet, which is quite phenomenal, really. Puts on quite an event.
I mean, it's fantastic how they've managed to make it a blow up rather than making it of metal and hardwood and all of this, because not only is it then the ease of transport to be able to make it a touring show, but it's also the idea that it's probably going to be a lot more environmentally better, because you're not using all these like heavy cranes and all of the trucks that would have to take all the metal poles and the scaffolding and all of this. Instead, you're taking the bare minimum of like the blow up dome, the bare minimum scaffolding that would need to hold it up, the blower and that sort of thing. It would be a lot more in my mind, just the transport idea of it. It's such a good way around what you would usually see.
I love the fact that they've managed to combine it. Kind of, obviously they've got the music, and they've got the film, and they've got other visuals, but they've also got live performance and active engagement. I think they were running yoga classes, and they did motivational speeches by Olympians, and all kinds of things like that. But I think one of the main aims, from what I read, was encouraging people to travel.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it could have been utilized better than that. Do you know what I mean? To kind of not just educate about these locations, but kind of teach them something about the locations as well, and kind of the communities within them. But yeah,
I have to agree with that. With the amount of research I've done into it and the people's reviews, it hit so hard the idea of bringing the community into the arts, and the immersive nature that they were able to put on. But there wasn't so much the idea of educating about the actual scenes that we are seeing, like the ocean life like we see on the screen right now, or like they had different ones of forests and the night sky. But it is very commendable on what they did managing to get live performances, putting on yoga classes, and putting on workshops and education for schools to come and see it. It's a completely amazing way to make a immersive installation that the public will want to see around the US, not just in one place, but traveling.
I think it's only toured. Was it 4 parts of 4 locations in Denver so far?
Yeah, so far. And the rest of the year it's gonna move on to different states. I'd love for it to come to the UK. I'll start a petition, make it come to the UK. or maybe we
should do one. Maybe that's our calling. Maybe we need to do this immersive event and kind of approach big companies for some money, but have an educational element to it. I think it's really important.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. Wouldn't that be great? We should write to the Arts Council right now.
Absolutely. Watch the space.
Yes. So that's it for for our art news this week. And we think it was a good idea that when we do our news, we also want to show this week how our artwork has been immersive as well. And I think I've got Sarah's artwork first. If you'd like, shall we play it and then you can say a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure.
Fingers crossed about the audio.
Well, if it doesn't, it's full moon, so we'll just blame that. Yeah, so these were I did a few more than this, but this was a piece that I did when I visited Garlock last year, and I love being outdoors and I love nature, and I just like getting to grips with it, and just as you say, immersing yourself in it, and you've got the feel, and then you're creating something with natural materials, and then you've got the sound in the background, and you've got the smell of the sea. So for me, I mean, in that creation, it was really, really immersive, and I was as happy as. And obviously it's kind of one of them transient pieces of art, because the sea will just come and reclaim it all, and in that, yes, nature will always win. It will either work or it won't, and if we abuse it for so long, then it's just going to turn around and go, actually, I've had enough, just everybody get off this planet, and I'm going to do my own thing. Yes, no more. But that was kind of one of them things, and I had such fun doing it as well. I think art should be fun, and yeah, as I say, just being outside in the elements was great.
Yeah. It looked like you had a lot of fun with it, as well as conveying an important message, and I think that's the way they should be. why do something if you're not going to enjoy it, if you don't experience it the way that you want to experience it? And it conveys that in your artwork. It really does.
Thank you. So would you like to talk about yours now?
Go on, if I have to. Right. So this one was more of an installation idea. I brought it to life. I narrowed it down from 14 ideas, where I did mirrored rooms to Hessian sculptures to mazes. And I decided to keep this simple. What I did was I made like a hut made of Hessian chicken wire and wood. And I wrapped that all up. And on the inside was light projections, mirrors, sculptures. But the amazing thing about it was that you couldn't actually go inside. You couldn't truly see inside. So the photos that you can see that are clear are only for photographs of what was actually inside, and the way the sculptures looked with the different colours on, where red literally turned these glazed ceramics into plasticky materials, and the blue, it completely transformed the materiality of it again, compared to the yellow light where you can literally see it's ceramics. So on the inside it was like a light show, where and through the Hessian you couldn't truly see what you were doing, so I was playing a lot with invisible and visible and light and projection. So then when you stood walking around it, you are literally in this stripy optical light show, not being able to truly see what you need to see. It was actually good fun, and I put some music along with it. What I did was it was rather ominous. Actually, it was rather operatic as well for someone who doesn't really like opera. But the feel, it was really, the reviews I got from this installation was when people walked around, you had this really unnerving like sense in your core, which wasn't really what I was going for. But I mean, it was amazing how something just like this that I'd been playing around with a long time really came to life and was able to make people feel something, and the atmosphere of it was just phenomenal, really, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. Do you find when you're setting these things up that in kind of in situ in the gallery or exhibition space, that things kind of evolve further?
Yeah,
that you have like little incidentals and they're like kind of happy accidents, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of my artwork is happy accidents, actually. When I go there, I have a plan of what I want to do, but a lot of it is kind of like freestyling when setting it up and how I want things to be. So obviously I needed to do the planning because it was 2 meters by 2 meters and the height was 2.5 meters. So it was all on ladders and heavy equipment, saws, the lot. But when it came to like the wrapping, the placing of the sculptures, I didn't actually have mirrors to go on the inside. On the day, I took in my mirror with me, just to play around with photography. And someone else brought in a mirror to help me out to do more photographs, and we ended up just keeping it inside the installation because the way the light bounced off of it, even the way the sound bounced off the mirrors, it created this like 360 sound effect, which was completely surprising to us. We didn't realize that mirrors could do that, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of happy accidents in this one. Even down to the way that the patterns were on the ceiling, like we wouldn't be able to reproduce it again to the full extent that we had it. I think at one point we ran out of staples because we were stapling it to the wood to stop the Hessian drooping, which you can actually see in the purple slightly where we ran out of staples. But it created these really fun patterns and an interest to it, and it kind of like, even though it was disheveled, it was really interesting to see, and it went so well with the ominous music as well. So swings and roundabouts, really. Yeah.
Isn't that part of the joy though, that you can't actually produce something twice like that?
Yes.
It will always have variation, natural, variables.
I think that's one of the most exciting things about exhibiting artworks, and that's why I'll exhibit the same sort of artworks and installations in multiple places, where people say, well, why would you do it again in a different place? Well, because you don't get the same atmosphere, you don't get the same reactions, even to the shape of the buildings and the architecture on the inside. There's a whole different language from your artwork to their architecture. And I think that's one of the most important things to think of as an artist, especially when you're going into exhibitions, knowing what the architecture is on the inside, knowing what other artwork is there, because that is what's going to affect your artwork in a sense. And with my piece being a sound piece, I have put it like sound pieces up in exhibitions as part of an installation, and where it's been with groups, I've taken the decision to switch off the sound, because sound and film can so heavily influence others' artworks around you and the way that the audience experiences other people's artworks, that I felt it would be detrimental to their works and it wouldn't be fair to them.
That's very considerate.
Yeah, most people wouldn't be that considerate. Most people would go, no, it goes with the sound. But what I found in several places where I've done it, actually the sound brought nothing to it, because of the architecture, the building, the placement, the other artworks around. It was in fact the other artworks that brought something to my work rather than the sound. So I think my biggest advice with that sort of thing is play around, try new things, and edit, because you can always take away and you can always add. But you have to find a place to stop, and a place that will make the biggest impact for your work, and actually caring for other artists as well, because it's not all about you, unless it's a solo or it's meant to be all about you.
We'll tackle that another day.
Yes. I started going on a rant there.
No, but that's really good advice, actually. I think it's an element that not everybody would think about when they're producing, a piece for exhibition. And if it has that kind of multi-sensory effect, is the kind of impact it might have on like the surrounding artworks. So yeah, very, very valid points, I think.
Thank you. So that's our artwork and the news this week. So we'll go on to our book recommendations. Shall I go first?
You can do.
So this one's a bit of a how to help book on the theme of immersion, which today has seemed to have gone down. And this one is Augmented Reality in Public Spaces, Basic Techniques for Video Mapping, Volume 1, by Lepensa Publisher. If you are wanting to go into video mapping, projecting onto large scale objects, sculptures, church walls, your home wall, anything like that, this is a really, really important how-to guide. It takes you through about 7 or 8 different programs, from the expensive to the free. So it tells you a brief history of video mapping, so you're understanding the culture that you are stepping into, how to choose a video projector, because it's so important knowing about lumens, about different projectors, what their dimensions are, their limits, as well as what can make them great, how many you will need, to how you would use it in Illustrator, After Effects, Cinema 4D, Resolve Arena. That one's the one that's free if you want to go into video mapping and giving it a go. It also tells you how to take photographs of the place that you're going to be putting your image on, so you know what proportions you need, how to map it, how to edit your audio and video in a single file, the methods that you need to do, procedures, how to do your final piece. Like, it has everything you need to know on loads of different programs, and it's not like one of those books where it goes through as many programs as it can in barely any detail. It's got a lot of detail. It is a step-by-step guide tutorial on how to create animation layer masks to everything, and it's not like it's showing you on a square object. It's also taking you through complex things like stacks of boxes, as well as church walls, as well as photographs of what they are actually trying to show you. I can't recommend it enough. It is how I've managed to video map before, how to do my stuff, and I did it on a HP laptop and this very, very old and cheap projector that I could get my hands on from a charity shop. So you don't need all the high-tech equipment if you're just playing around with it. You can literally do it from your old laptop, from an old projector, and it will work. But since then I have upgraded to iMacs and expensive projectors. And if I was ever going to do this as a commission or in real life on a large scale building, I'd have to hire and rent equipment, because no way does my stuff be able to do anything like that.
Sounds like a very cool book, actually. I don't really know a great deal about that kind of stuff, as we've discussed. I need to kind of look at various programs and kind of become a bit more familiar with them, but it definitely sounds like something to explore.
Yeah, I have to say it's such a good book in a way where it's like, just jump in and have a go. Just the whole way about it is so approachable. It's not some person or company going, you can't do what I do, and there's no way you're ever going to do it as well as me, so I'm going to do it in the most complex language possible. No, Benito Manelio, really fantastic. It is such an easy read. It's so easy to follow. I can actually be a massive technophobe. I don't think I actually started doing video until about 2 years ago. I didn't touch Photoshop properly until 2 years ago, when I had a proper tutorial. And it was at the time where I was trying to push myself, did my first video, and I went, you know what, I want to map this onto some of my sculptures. Got into contact with an amazing graduate from the University of Hertfordshire, and she recommended this book, and she also took me through the stages. So it truly is, if I could do it, anyone can do it, and it is something I would recommend video artists, film artists, sound artists, or even someone who just wants to give it a go and see their paintings in a larger prospect, just to give it a go. Jump in and just do it.
Good advice.
Yeah.
You just got to start where you are.
Exactly.
So I've had a different take on like this immersion theme, and maybe it's a bit self-centered, I don't know. But it's just like, sometimes you pick up a book and you can see it and you can feel it and you can smell it, and you use all of your senses when you're reading this. It's just, it evokes so much. And at the top of this, it's got a quote by David Attenborough, which was a big seller. So, Alan almost single-handedly, in my opinion, made wildlife films grow up. And if that's not a testimonial, then I don't know what it's really. So this book is called Ivory, Apes and Peacocks. Oh, look, it's working today.
It's working today. Don't jinx it.
And it's by a guy called Alan Roots. Now, sadly, I think he passed away a couple of years ago. But from the moment I opened this book, I was just in raptures. Basically, it's the story of how he was born in the UK, and his dad, I think he worked at a canned meat factory in the UK, and his job actually took him out to Kenya. They were basically farming cattle for this canned meat production, which, you know, I feel a bit funny about, but, you know, it happens. And this little boy was so into his bird spotting in the UK, and he was distraught at the thought of having to go to Kenya and live, you know, after having learned so much about, you know, British wildlife. And he used to read a lot of British bird life illustration books. And I don't know if you've ever kind of looked through some, but there's some amazing illustrations out there, and, you know, not just birds, but like all manner of wildlife. So yeah, he learned so much. And then he got to Kenya and it was just like, oh, this is a bit different. Different bird life, different mammals around him. And it was just kind of basically getting to grips with that, settling down, making new friends, going on new adventures, and discovering a whole new way of life. I think eventually one of his first jobs, which sounds a bit weird, was he was a traveling salesman for this canned goods company. And he basically used to tailor these trips so he could go and spend as much time exploring as possible. So he'd do his job as quickly as possible and then set off with, in his van with maybe a tent in the back and a supply of canned food that he could just eat. So he talks about adventures like that. And he talks about finding his wife, Joan, and, how they used to look after injured wildlife. There's Sally the hippo, who's mentioned, and his friendships with Joy and George Adamson. So it's an amazing book, and the descriptives are just, how I feel about Africa. I've had that experience, so maybe it's kind of, as I say, maybe I've connected much more so with this book. I don't know, but I wouldn't discourage anybody from reading it. It's I almost don't want to start talking because I might not stop. But as well, he's kind of been heavily involved with kind of conservation, and kind of in part when he's doing treks, he talks about the wildlife that he's encountered, and even down to the fact, I think it might have been his first Christmas in Kenya, he got his first gun. And he had a bit of an accident with his first gun, and he got a bit too nosy and he pulled the trigger and the barrel kind of slapped him back in the face. And then he accidentally shot 2 firefinches down with his catapult, which he was absolutely gutted about because he'd seen them as visitors to his feeding station. And, he said, I sobbed at that. You can just imagine, well, no, you don't want to imagine. And they mention kind of all manner of locations around Kenya, including Naivasha and trekking in the Aberdares. It's just absolutely joyful.
Wow.
And it's also got testimonials by Virginia McKenna and as I say, David Attenborough, Peter Matheson, among many others. But yeah, if you're looking for tales of Big Five, this is it, but you're going to get Big Five and more. It's full of tales of woe, joy, enlightenment, wisdom, and it's just read it.
It sounds great, and it's funny when you say it's not related to art, but I mean, even writing is an art in itself, and to be able to transport you to a whole other realm and be so immersed into it, it's just truly phenomenal how they can do it. It really is art in themselves. And I think that is a good point to bring up this book, because it may not have art business or anything in that side of it, but it is a good book and it is a good read.
Yeah, it has actually got a couple of illustrations in. So I don't know. Having that same problem again. Not going to happen. I'll show you some. I'll send some for when it's uploaded. It's quite humorous as well, I'd say. I did my usual thing of bookmarking something to read to you. So I'll just read this little passage, so it's not too long. Back then, Longido was the official point of exit, an entry between Kenya and let me get this right, Tanganyika. I'm a bit of a tongue twister today. Not a soul lived there, and as there were no government officials to monitor the border crossing, officialdom was represented by a permanently raised barrier and an unmanned sentry box with a dog-eared book on the shaft to record the details of travellers crossing back and forth. As Oscar delighted in pointing out, it was amazing how often Charlie Chaplin, Adolf Hitler, Darwin, and Einstein had passed that way, sometimes all in the same vehicle. We signed out of Tanganyika. I get this right sometimes, as Donald Duck and Tarzan. And since that first experience, borders and bureaucracy have never meant much to me, particularly in Africa. I just like the part about these random characters passing over the border and nobody batting an eyelid.
That's great. I would start doing excerpts in mine, but it would be something like, go to file, new to open window as a figure 3 explains. 4, name the document. But maybe in the future I'll start finding excerpts for it, because I mean it's such a good glimpse into the book. I mean, even that takes you away, and I mean, it's right. You just sit there and you're just like, yeah, that makes sense. Those visitors are going and no one's batting an eyelid, because as a reader, you're not batting an eyelid. All right. Yes. Shall we go on to our final challenge this evening? We're doing it slightly different today. It's quite exciting. We've got air dry clay instead of pen and paper. So we're going to see what we can create in a couple of minutes. And what we're going to do is share our progress with you over our Instagram and probably Facebook group. Because we're going to have to let it dry, then we're going to paint it or do whatever we want to it. And once we get the finals, we will make sure it shows to everyone. So do follow us on Facebook and Instagram, which is findingthewhy_podcast on, I think that's both Facebook and Instagram actually. So do check it out and make sure to keep up to date. Oh.
Your pack's slightly bigger than mine.
Yeah, only a little bit.
I didn't know what it was up against here.
I could have done the normal thing of prepping myself a ball earlier.
Yeah, I should have got a board out or something too. I think I'm going to go too adventurous, actually.
Yeah, shall we do it as like a pot or something?
We could do.
Or a cup this week.
A coil pot or a thumb pot.
Oh, a thumb pot, we'll do that.
Okay.
Right, there you go. I've got my ball now.
It's I do actually wish I'd got it out and kneaded it a bit more before.
I was like that with mine. I was like, yesterday I was checking to make sure it's okay and just tipped a bucket of water in the pack. I was like, it'll be fine. Right. Oh. And I think this is a really good time to bring up that I think air dry clay is such a brilliant material to work with. My one's actually got the fabric in it which keeps it together rather than just little shards and shreds. And it's always felt to me that air dry clay is a cheat to ceramics, but it's not, because animators...
I've never used it before, literally.
It's such a brilliant thing, and it's so low cost because you don't have to rent out kilns or have your own kiln and all that electricity and stuff. All you need is somewhere warm to put it in 48 hours. The only issues I'd say with it is that if you want to use it as a vase or a cup or something that's with liquid, you have to varnish it first. So I'd make sure you get like a really good dishwasher safe varnish over the top that's waterproof, just simply because it's going to be porous. It will fall apart. And it's the same when you go onto your painting afterwards. Be careful how much paint you use and how much pressure, because it can start morphing and falling apart.
Yeah, I haven't actually used clay. I specialized in ceramics, but obviously it was, proper clay. Oh, yeah. Totally different ball game. Still moldable, but
oh yeah. And it's something that I've had to start doing in lockdown, because I love doing my abstract ceramics, but with lockdown there was no access to kilns because you couldn't go to a workshop or anything. So I got myself some air dry clay, and I've been falling in and out of love with it for the past year and a half, to a point where, because I get the fabric one which sticks together a lot more, It's a lot harder to do the holes in that I usually do. A lot of my work, I punch holes in things, just because I like that interior, exterior, seen and unseen.
Not just walls, then.
Not just walls. There's a whole different project that one was. But yeah, it's a love-hate relationship I have with it, I have to admit. But I'm going to do the holes with this one, I think. Keep everyone up to date with the progress of that.
Right. Oh, you're still rolling it. I'm just like.
Oh, I've begun it. I'm doing details.
Okay. No, I think I'll have to add details later. I don't trust myself to rush this one. I feel like I've got some ceramics tools in my drawer. I should have got them out. You know, the kind of this what's it called, the scraper.
I'm quite glad you said that, because mine are right next door to me and I completely forgot about them. But yeah, I think I'll have to do proper smoothing out of it and get the sander out when it dries.
I can't even give my mum this for Mother's Day because it's past.
Fine, give it to her for Father's Day.
I should appreciate that.
No, I'm gonna have to take that detail off. Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's a few cracks appearing here already.
It's quite good because once it's dry, you can fill up the cracks with the clay and not have to put it through the kiln again. And if it's less clay, then it usually takes a bit quicker time to dry over the cracks.
Right.
Which is what I'm going to probably have to do. Right.
Well, it certainly doesn't look manufactured.
It's homemade. Right. Shall we give it another minute and we'll show what we've done so far, and we'll carry it on in our own time.
Too much water. Yeah, I could definitely have done with some tools. Actually, I might kind of take on the theme of, you know, the cave paintings and kind of make it a bit primitive.
Oh, that'd be quite cool. This will need a lot of work to it.
Quite sure this is going to be a bestseller, but you know. Oh, God damn it, Kirstie, you've got tools out.
I know, it's not fair.
No, it's not.
So I'm going to leave it there for tonight.
I'm incensed.
Oh, no. All right. Are you ready to see it? You have to guess the animal.
Oh, hang on. What?
I did a pot with an animal on it.
Oh, did you? I just did a pot.
I thought let's be creative.
Oh, that's cool. Is it a rhino?
I was meant to do a cat.
Of course it's a cat.
Obviously. Let's see your pot.
Mine's a variant of a certain species. Or it might be. I'll have to add to it during the week when I get time.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. There's a cute little pot.
It is. It's just a pot.
Oh, fantastic.
Just my brain's fried today. So.
I have to say it's much better than mine. You can't help yourself. You keep on fiddling with it. Yeah, like
yeah. I need to put it down and put it away. But it will look a lot more creative than this when it comes back next week. I promise you. In fact, it might have little babies as well.
We'll that's pretty cool. You know what? I'm going to change mine to a rhino. The damage is done. We'll go with it.
Mine will come back with a trunk or something.
Yeah. Maybe.
Because it's all falling off of my hands and there's bits everywhere at the moment. So I thought rather than kind of try and sculpt everything really quickly, I'll just like leave it like that.
Yeah. Well, did you see? I said I think I said it today. There's a nursery rhyme that I watched for my little one. For those of you still listening, and it says animal songs, and the elephant goes Peru. I watched it in French, and it was going pois pois. So that's our new elephant noise now. Oh dear.
So you'll understand them now if you go to France and you see an elephant.
I can go pois pois, and everyone will know what I'm on about. All right.
So watch the space. Yeah, we might come back with an immersive like exhibition and like quirky thumb pots next week.
Yes. You never know. So yeah, thank you so much for those of you who have watched this live tonight.
Managed to get to the end.
Yes. And thank you to everyone who is watching this on demand on our various outlets, media. And let us know what you think about our pots. Keep up to date with our progress by following us on Instagram at findingthewhy_podcast, and on Facebook, which is, I think it's Finding the Why Podcast Art. And yeah, keep up to date.
The link up.
We will. It will be underneath this. And if there's anything that you want us to talk about, any art challenges you want us to do, any materials you want us to showcase, or just want to let us know what day of the week really hits you hard, like World Ocean Day, World Environment Day. This month is LGBTQA+. I think I've got that right. If I haven't got that right, please let me know, because I really would like to be educated a little bit more on this sort of subject. And so yeah, thank you all for coming, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, if anybody wants to tag us in their stories,
yes,
or posts, and you want to share or want to give us a shout out, then please do. We're always happy to receive feedback, and always happy to kind of have that interaction with people as well. So,
yes. Yes, have a good week and enjoy the warm weather that you're having. We'll see you soon. Bye.